Hello and welcome back to Copic in the Craft Room. Today I have a fun stamp set from My Favorite Things. Every once in a while I find myself purchasing stamps that I really have no idea what I'm going to do with them, but they just make me smile. So I purchased these little giraffes because I love them. They make me giggle. And then I decided to pull out my fluorescents. And you can see on that card I'm doing a lot of testing about what colors will go with what. So I have to play around because the fluorescents are kind of singletons in that they don't have actual matching natural blending sets. So I really have to play around with what I do with them. So I'm going to base those little guys in an FY1, which is a fluorescent. All of them start with that F, and then yellow 1. So the F just stands for fluorescent. And some of the fluorescents have more of that glow than others. The yellow is one of them that really glows, and even as it dries, it glows even more. And so the blending becomes a little more difficult just because as it dries, it tends to be not as well blended as what it appeared like from the start. So I'm going to add some Y32, that yellow 3-2 to the mix for my shading. So I'm going down kind of the one side of the long neck and the underside of the body. Those legs are pretty tiny, but I am going to do a little stripe of shading there. Notice the same side of the little guy's neck and underside of his tummy with that Y32. And then I'm going back to blend with my FY1. Now, this is going to be my first round of blending. You'll see me come back and do another one because as it dries, it kind of separates out again. While it's wet, it looks like I've done a fairly decent job of blending and I'm pretty pleased with it. And then I realized as it dried, it wasn't quite as blended as I wanted it to be. So since I've started with fluorescents, I continue that way and I decided to do the dots in some crazy colors. So I've got an F blue green 2, FBG 2, and then a B04 and a B05 to add shading on some of those dots, blending back with the FBG 2, and then FYG 1 and then YG01 and YG03 for shading. Now I'm coming back to my FY1, that fluorescent yellow, and that really is just gonna help me again blend those bodies out a little bit better. I've realized as it dried that now it looks really separated again, so I'm just going back and blending some more. And that does help. Even though it's been dry, I can come back and do more of that, which is really nice. So fluorescent RV1 is going to go on all the little dots on this big one. So fluorescent RV1 and then RV04 works really well with this. And then I come in with just a touch of RV06, little dots almost, just to kind of accentuate that, smooth it out with that fluorescent RV1. And I know this is pretty fast, but honestly, this was so much fun just to play with. The FYR, so yellow red 1, is going to hit the noses, their little manes, and those little feet. And then YR02 is the one I found closest to it. This one is a hard one to match, but I found that this one at least adds that shading that I'm looking for, and it blends pretty well. So fluorescent YR1, yellow red 1, coming back and blending those together. And then I kind of fell off the page, so you missed the first few seconds of this, but this is a G14. So I don't have a fluorescent right now. It's actually a G14. When I played around before I started and was matching colors, I also looked at some ground and sky colors. And for the ground, I still wanted it to be kind of a grassy hill, but nice and bright. I switched over to G16 to add some shading. And really, because of the brightness of the fluorescence, I needed something really vivid. So the G14 seemed to work. And then G16, I kind of am falling off the edge again. G14 is back to do some more blending and soften that grass area. And then I got in a little bit on the legs. So I have to come back with that fluorescent yellow and the fluorescent yellow red just a little bit. The sky is a whole nother issue. So I start with a fluorescent blue-green 2. And I'm going to do a whole series of colors and they're going to whip by in that lower left corner. But the group of colors I'm using, so listen real carefully. I've got the fluorescent blue green 2, and that's what I'm coloring with right now. Then I've got a B02, a B00, and then I've also got a BG10. So I've got 4 colors that are going into the sky, and I go back and forth like furiously to get this to blend smoothly. I'm thrilled with how it turns out, but it takes a lot of work, and you can really see as I start whipping through the 4 colors how much work sometimes this takes. I fill that up. That's that BG10 that filled up the top of the sky, going back down all the way down to that fluorescent blue-green 2. And now I'm whipping back and forth. The caps are staying off. I've kind of whipped off the gloves at this point, and so I'm going between those 4 colors pretty furiously. But you can see what I'm doing. I'm laying down that ink wet and trying to get it finished up. Hey, I appreciate you stopping by and joining me today. Check us out on Copic in the Craft Room on Facebook, and have a happy, colorful week.